Thank you for that, Lindsay. And I'd also like to mention that Lindsay is our advising assistant, helping the advising team organize and get going, and will be one of our first peer advisors in our new program we're starting in the fall of 2021. Let's hear from Maya, please.
Hi, I'm Maya, she, her. I am a third year, I'm sorry, I am a third year student I'm majoring in theater with an emphasis in design and technology because, as you can tell, I don't do well with public speaking. I'm a double major in linguistics, but definitely a focus in theater. And is there anything I'm missing?
No, that's all for now. Don't you worry. You did it. And I think you're doing just fine, especially for how early it is on a Saturday at the end of the semester. So kudos for making complete sentences, because that is an accomplishment right now. And last but not least, Adam.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Adam. I am an MFA candidate. I'll be graduating in May with my degree in scenic design. And I also did my undergrad at San Diego State. So I've been around for a while. Welcome, everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. You've been here longer than I have. I'm so excited to see you graduate, but I'm going to be really sad to see you go. That's the hard part about this job. All right, great. Well, I'm just going to put some questions to you. And folks, I have some questions of my own for our panelists to get us started. But if you have questions as we go along, please feel free to put them in the chat and I'll be happy to pose them to our panel. So let's just start with something easy. What do you think has been your favorite thing about being a student in the School of Theater, Television, and Film? I'll just see anyone who'd like to speak to that.
I can go first. I would say I think the community in this school, it's really really welcoming and really warm to everyone that wants to join. I've really had a good experience kind of joining different productions that are put on by the department and student organizations, and just really everyone wants to help each other out in this major, which I think is a really great experience for anyone that can take a part of it.
Yeah, I've noticed that across too. There's not like these silos. Everybody has to collaborate to get their work done. That's the nature of theater and film. Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, jumping off that, just the amount of collaboration between both theater and film. As a designer, I bounce between the theater and the film department, and I just see the film crews working on their movies, collaborating with one another, and of course the student groups, which have been so prolific this last year in particular. Just seeing that is just so wonderful. You might think that college is going to be really cutthroat and everyone's after one another. No, it's not like that at all. Everyone is helping one another on all their projects, which is just fantastic. And like I said, this last year has been a challenge to do that. And everyone, especially the student groups, have completely risen to the challenge. It's been really cool to see.
On that note, I'd say the amount of hands-on experience I've been able to get, whether it's through coursework or extra productions on the side, if you're interested in something, whether it's stage management, directing, producing, which a lot of students I think don't get the chance in other places, you can find a way to get that work and to get that experience, even if you've got none.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And that's what I love about our student orgs. So we have in our main stage season, generally speaking, 2 straight plays and 1 musical each semester. So that's only 6 shows, and we have hundreds of students. So our student orgs are vital for creating additional opportunities. We have the Skull and Dagger Dramatic Society, the Cross Campus Theater, Black Renaissance Theater, an improvisational club. We have the Design and Technology Association, which kind of supports the productions of all of those other clubs that are based in performance. Teatro Azteca is a group that we have is a little defunct at the moment, but hopefully as new leadership comes in, that'll get restarted again. And we've had students start clubs if the ones that exist aren't doing the kind of work that they want. And this provides an additional dozen, at least, opportunities every year for students to get their hands into it. So the great thing about student productions, I think, first of all, I usually enjoy them more than our department shows because they have a different kind of energy. And secondly, they're student motivated. So you're doing everything, really learning what it feels like to be a professional. And the main stage shows are wonderful for working with the faculty and getting that experience as well, but there's nothing like doing it yourself. So I just wanted to put that in there. I know this is not my day to talk, but I love our student org. It's my favorite part about this school. Okay, I'd love to hear from you. What made you decide to study theater at the college level, and what are you hoping to do with your career, if you know that at this point in your studies, which wherever you are with that?
Yeah, I can go. I have definitely changed my major a few times since I've gotten here. I started here as a speech language hearing sciences major, which is a vast jump to what I am now. But I think I decided to pick theater because I really do like the environment. I'm hoping in the future to become a production manager or a company manager for a theater company. So I'm definitely more on the managerial track than more des tech or performance. But I really do like working with artists that like to create. I think there's nothing like it. And even though I may not be creative myself, it's fun to work with people and kind of give them the support that they need in order to do what they love, which I think is enjoyable.
I'm sorry, I've been working with Lindsay on several projects. You're an artist. That's not true. And on a very similar note, my focus is stage management. I've been doing it since high school. And so I was pretty clear from the start. I was like, this is what I'm doing, and I'll study linguistics to make my grandma happy. But I love to. So while theater is the focus, the college level, I think, provides you with kind of an insight and like a safety net that I think you wouldn't get jumping into the professional world, as well as just connections that not to take it like, not to say everyone you meet is an asset, but when you get to know the artists you're working with and the artists that will be shaping your field as you're growing, it's really invaluable. I've seen the people that graduated when I was a freshman doing incredible things and starting theater companies, and to be around, and when you're working with grad students too, to be around that kind of focus really motivates you.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the big draws for me as a scenic designer is that on faculty is Ralph Funicello, who is a legend. So if you don't know who Ralph Funicello is, Google who he is. He was nominated for a Tony Award. So he's an incredible resource, as Maida said, to network. That, if I have, Ralph Funicello in my back pocket to try and, scenic design jobs, that's a good position to have. And what's so great about our faculty is that they're all working professionals on every level. So, Jessica Prudencio is a big time director. She's been nominated for a lot of local awards. Ralph, as I mentioned, Denitsa Bliznikova is a big time costume designer. Ann McMills works in the lighting field. Over on the TV film side, there's David Morong, who teaches production design, and Tim Powell and Greg Penetantre. So these are all like really great, amazing professionals, and you're working alongside them. And you're going to need these great resources to network and get connections, to write your letters of recommendation. So it's a really incredible faculty, and they're all around. It's not like GAs are teaching the classes. You're learning from them, which is fantastic.
Now, there are instances where our graduate students teach classes, but they're generally people who already have experience in the field before they even come to SDSU. So you get this combination of people learning about teaching and how to communicate what they know to the younger folks. But I would say that's pretty rare. And it's even having lecturers as opposed to faculty members in theater, at least, is pretty rare. Tenured faculty members, I should say. So if you aren't aware of the difference, so a lecturer is somebody who has the same qualifications as a tenured faculty member, but their contract maybe that renews every year, whereas a tenured faculty member is like in for the long haul. And the advantage of that being the majority of the people in our faculty is that they're going to be around for you your entire career, and they have investment in this school, which is great. Some departments have a lot of lecturers and they're in and out. You don't know who you're going to be working with from semester to semester. We have consistency in our school, which is a real gift. So I'm going to keep asking the panelists questions, but I want to remind our folks in the audience here that you can speak up, ask any questions that you have about anything. And if they can't answer it, I probably can. So we're all in this together and we can give you the info that you need. I'm curious, outside of our school, what is, from your opinion, campus life like at SDSU as a student? Is it active? How do you get involved? What can what are the opportunities available for students?
I would say it's different this year because of kind of everything going on. But in normal years, the student life is very active. There's a lot of different opportunities to get involved. There are so many different student organizations, even outside of TTF. There are a lot of different, like REO. If you're interested in being like an RA in the residence halls, if you want to work through the associated students in leadership, there's so many different pathways you can take if you want to get involved on campus. It's kind of just finding your opportunity. But yeah, everyone here is definitely willing to be social and get to know one another.
Thanks for that, Lindsay. And we can certainly come back to this topic, but we do have a few questions coming in the chat. So thanks, folks. Adam was checking for any scenic or projection designers in the crowd. Do you have to be a declared theater major to participate in the shows? All students at SDSU are eligible to audition or volunteer to work backstage, and we have a lot of classes that are open to non-majors as well. Is there flexibility yet? Okay, you don't have to be a major or a minor. Do theater students get experience acting for camera? So we do have a upper division acting for the camera class as an elective. And then there's also, of course, the other side of our school, which is television, film, and new media, that has about twice the number of students in our theater program. And half of those are production majors, and each of those needs to make their short films. So yes, the answer is yes. There are a lot of student films going on, and you can get the skills you need in the class and then get going with the student films. Clara is asking about the international experience requirement. I don't know if any of our panelists here have studied abroad, but just generally about that then, these only majors in our school that are required to travel abroad are our performance majors. And there are a variety of ways that you can satisfy that requirement. You can study abroad for a semester, an academic year, or you can find a short-term program in the summer or over spring break or over the winter break. I'll put a website in the chat about how you can find some of those options. And then we also can speak to you individually about, some specific ones that are not necessarily in the Aztecs Abroad database. So Eliana is asking, and this is our students can speak to, is there a lot of collaboration between theater and film students? Are there any examples of theater students getting to try or be involved with film opportunities? And I know that this year especially, there's been a lot of that. So I'd love for our students to talk to that a little bit. Like, for example, tell us about Sense and Sensibility, or, oh, I'm sorry, Maya, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're totally okay. You're on the right track. This year, especially as Katie mentioned, we've seen that theater and film, that line got blurred so heavily. And so Lindsay and I saw her going to unmute because, wow, the work she did on this was incredible. We just produced with Skull and Dagger Dramatic Society a production of Kate Hamill's adaptation of Sense and Sensibility, which ended up being more like a feature-length film that the good folks ended up creating. It was a filmed production that we ended up live streaming on Twitch. And so we found this year that we've been, just a little context, I'm the technical director for Skull and Dagger Dramatic Society, so it's my job to go out and find students who are willing to work on these productions and who want to get experience in the various technical areas. So one of the things I ended up finding a lot was I was looking at the television film students and being like, which of you designers wants to try something that's kind of theatrical but not quite? And so we found a lot of crossover there, but I was also going to speak to the social levels between the film and theater kids. It's huge. Like, we meet them all the time, we see them all the time, we take classes with them, and the more you get to know students who are taking film classes and who are making the films, the more you find yourself on film sets. And so that's another thing that's really helpful, is just getting to know those various people. And I know a couple of specific students in mind who have directed for our theater program and then gone over and produced amazing short films.
Yeah, and I would say also, I know there are a lot of my actor friends who are usually filming short films and stuff with television film department, because they're always looking for actors to kind of work in their short films. So there's definitely a lot of overlap there when it comes to getting performers for their short films.
And there may be opportunities if you're interested in designing short film. There's that. You have to make yourself known to the right channel. So David Morong would be the person. And there's various classes you would take. There's staging for TV and film, and there's art direction for TV, film, and production design. So if you express the interest to the right people, and opportunities present themselves, and again, they know who you are, you might have a chance to do a short film, which is fantastic for your resume and for your reel.
Yeah, our season literally would not have been possible this year without TFM, without our film folks, the professors, the students. And it's been really remarkable. So we've always been the School of Theater, Television, and Film. And like the folks here have said, there's been a crossover, especially of actors and then in designers. But this year, it was the theater folks helping TFM. This year it was TFM helping theater. Without them, we wouldn't have had any shows. They didn't present a single thing that wasn't either helped along with people who do new media, or that wasn't recorded first and then edited after, to help create really unique and dynamic work. And I personally hope that we continue that close-knit, that more back and forth that we saw this year, even though there's never been a total separation. It's definitely intensified. And I think we found an even stronger sense of community through all of these different challenges, and some beautiful work, just work that I was like, didn't even know what to expect and was blown away. I put in the chat some links to a couple of events if you want to kind of see what the results of these collaborations have been. We have Spring Awakening by the Musical Theater Club, which was filmed and then will be streamed this weekend, free or pay what you can. And then our main stage production of She Kills Monsters opens on Thursday, runs through the weekend. Tickets are only $10, and you can watch it from anywhere, which is, another advantage. The restrictions of the pandemic have been awful and terrible, but then there's also these little silver linings that come out of it too. So our theater directors, student directors, have gotten the opportunity this year to kind of pivot a bit and learn what it's like to work on films, even though they're not film production majors. So that's been an advantage. And I think we're going to see a continued hybrid approach, at least in some degree, as we move forward post-COVID. Speaking of post-COVID, I don't know if the folks here are aware, last week, was it, SDSU announced that we're going to be back on campus in the fall. I don't know if you've seen that update, but I think the majority of classes are back face-to-face at full capacity. So hopefully that plan pans out. Any other questions from the crowd? Did I miss any? Let me double check. Are there a lot of internship opportunities and connections? Certainly. So my other work is the internship coordinator, at least through the end of this year. In the fall, we're going to have somebody new doing it, but somebody who actually will do more than I have been able to do, which is exciting. We regularly place students in internships every semester. For theater, we have connections with Signet Theater, San Diego Repertory Theater, La Jolla Playhouse, the Old Globe, and also Broadway San Diego, Junior Theater, all kinds of different, and pretty much New Village Arts just started a new program that we've been getting students into this year. And then of course, there's any number of internships in film production, especially if you're good at social media and post-production, a lot of opportunities. So you can get class credit for doing internships. Ideally, you get paid and get credits. That's something that you would want to come see the internship coordinator about. Most students pursue an internship in their junior and senior year. Once they've had a little bit of experience in our school productions, then they can kind of step out into the professional world and start getting their feet wet there. Maya, go ahead.
Yeah, while we're on the topic of internships, it's not specifically an internship, but one experience I really want to highlight that I don't think I would have gotten anywhere else is our touring productions. And so I'm not quite sure what our season looks like for next semester. I'm not privy to that information quite yet, but I do know one of the things I've been really impressed with at SDSU is each year that I've been here, we've done a touring sort of abridged version of a Shakespeare play. So my freshman year, it was R+J, which was a very abstract interpretation of Romeo and Juliet. And then we toured it and we took it to various high schools in San Diego. And I was an 18-year-old stage manager, and they had me like drive the set around, which is not experience that I ever expected to get. And so that's also another just cool thing you can do.
And if for any lighting people out there, we have a great relationship with the Old Globe. So many of our students work out there in the summer season on the festival stage, and sometimes they stick around. They work on the indoor stage, doing hang focus and spotlight operators. And there's also prop artisan jobs pop up every once in a while, as does scenic painting. So I worked a little tiny bit on Almost Famous, which is supposed to go to Broadway. So that's sort of cool. That's something I worked on is going to go to Broadway. So the Old Globe is a great resource if you need like a summer job once we get back to normal.
Yeah, and I'd like to emphasize that you don't have to be a Des Tech major to get skills in the design and technology fields. I am a professor of history and dramatic literature, but I made my living as a lighting tech for 10 years between graduating undergrad and getting my PhD. And so I never had to wait tables. I never had to, take a crummy office job. I got to be in the theater, making networking connections and learning more about my craft, which has made me a better director, has made me a better producer. So, which is what I do now. So, in addition to working at SDSU. Also, our faculty are really great about taking advantage of funding opportunities for students. So we've had professors take students to Edinburgh in the Fringe Festival using summer undergraduate research program funding, the Philippines. I was able to use that funding last summer to help develop a at-home immersive theater experience with a fellow student, which we've now turned into a small business turnkey theater. And Maya's working with me on that team through more funds that I was able to get through the university. And so we have a very proactive faculty that wants you to succeed and wants to give you the opportunities that come to them. I feel like this is an infomercial for TTF, and I don't mean it to have that quality, but I know that all of us here are just really proud of what we do, which is why we're here on a Saturday morning. So any other questions from the crowd? If not, I have a few in my back pocket. What kind of folks do we have here today? Performance, design, general, not sure, youth theater? How many theater majors usually participate in the residence housing? That's a really good question. So at SDSU, if I understand, the policy is that freshmen and sophomores need to live on campus unless you have family within a certain radius. And we do have there is a residential community of, I'm sorry, this is not my area. Does anybody know about this? Can you help me out?
Yeah, sorry. I was actually an RA last year, so I know a bit about the housing, everything. So basically, there are a couple RLCs, which are the residential learning communities, and those are in a certain of the different residential halls. And basically, those are organized either thematic or by kind of like culture type things. And so there are a couple. There's a VAPA floor, which includes like theater, usually kind of theater dancers, instrumental music, choir, kind of things like that. And one of my friends, their freshman year lived on the VAPA floor, and it's usually a lot of theater majors. Typically, it's a great way to get to know other people on the floor that are also in your major, because the RLC, most students that live in the RLC have to take the same kind of like general studies class, which is usually Theater 100. So it's a great way to have a class with people that you live with. So it's a great way to get to know people and kind of break the ice your freshman year.
Has anyone else here lived on campus, Maya or Adam?
Yeah, I lived on campus my freshman and sophomore year. I specifically said when I signed up that I wasn't interested in joining a resident learning community just because I wanted to try. Part of me knew or thought that I'd already get to know the people that did theater, and I thought I wanted to try that out a little bit more. I wish I had. I hear things and I'm like, oh, that sounds so cool. But at the same time, there's a huge value to living on campus with people you don't know. I ended up living with them the next year, and I was going to live with them the year after, and then pandemic. But no matter what, you get to know so many people. So I lived in Chapultepec, which has since been rebuilt and is so much better. But living on campus, you have access to a ton of really good and easy food, which is a plus for a lot of people, including myself. Chapultepec was far. I did get my steps in daily, but they've since built stuff near so you don't have to go as far, which is really nice, and I'm really jealous. You get really, I don't know what it'll be like as they start to open campus back up, but I know that when you did live on campus, I got a free access to the ARC, which is Aztec Recreation Center. It's a humongous gym and just incredible with rock climbing and great basketball courts. Honestly, living on campus was an experience I wouldn't trade. Oh, and then your second year, you're not stuck in like hotel type of like dorm feeling. I ended up living in on-campus apartments, which really feel like the adult apartment.
I never got to live on campus in college because I had family in the area and I was always sad about that. But I had a lot of great fun in other people's dorms. I will say that. I spent very little time at home. Can you talk about the theater program and what it's like? Yeah, I'm going to leave that to our panel here. Memorable experiences. What was it like for you as a new student?
It can be, I think if you're, the one thing I would take away is that you get out of it what you put in. And so it can be incredibly, like we've listed all these faculty members with their credentials, but in the end, they do want to help you. And so the biggest thing is getting over that step of everyone's out to get you, because they're not. They love you. They want you to succeed. And when you take that first step to say, hi, my name is Maya Eisenman and I'm a stage manager, please give me a project, they overwhelm you with projects and it's really cool. So I would say overall the biggest theme is you get out of it what you put in, and the rewards can be.
Yeah, and I think it's important to kind of find ways to like supplement your curriculum as opposed to just doing the classes. It's especially like with the theater program here, a lot of it is kind of you taking it upon yourself to either audition for the productions or kind of work with the department productions, or finding a way to work with student orgs to make sure that you're getting like that full experience. Because you could just go to class day by day and like not talk to your professors, not really know anyone, and you're not going to get that full SDSU experience unless you kind of put in the work in.
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely recommend go to office hours, meet your professors, so they know again who you are, and you know, as Lindsay and Maya just said, that they will start to give you projects, you know, no matter where you are. And then sometimes undergrads have designed main stage shows. It's mostly been costume and lighting. Hasn't really happened in scenic design. But if you're really talented, if Danitza knows who you are, if Anne knows who you are, if you've worked on the student shows and you have a little bit of body of work to show them, there's a great chance you can get a main stage show. But if not, certainly work with the student orgs, and there are plenty of opportunities to do designs for the student shows. And as Katie said, sometimes the student shows are a little bit better, more entertaining than the main stage shows, honestly. And there's, like I said, there's a different energy about them, and they're just, I think, just more fun.
It really boils down to the theater department is busy, together, and lively. I've never met anyone from another major that says they're on a first name basis with most of their professors, or says they even know more than like 3 people in their major. My former roommate was a nursing major, and I was like, yeah. And so then I was in a room with, and they were like, are those students or professors? And it's like, you know the people you're working with, whether they're professors or students, and you're around them all the time. Once we're back on campus, there's kind of a central hub outside. If we didn't mention the benches this meeting, we'd be amiss, but there's these benches that are outside the drama building, and it's just a congregation of theater students. So you've always got people that exist around you and are talking about theater or just enjoying the sun, and it's just very social.
Thanks for that, Maya. Actually, I was going to ask Clara, I see your question about the performance emphasis, which you're going to address in a second, but Diana's question is actually something similar about what I was going to ask. I can talk about who guides you through those classes, but The question is, what was your favorite theater class freshman year, or if you transferred your first year at SDSU, or any class really, but what's that first year experience?
I would say, at least for me, it's kind of basic. Maya's probably going to laugh. I really enjoyed taking Theater 240, which is basically the introductory design technology class here. I believe all theater majors are required to take it. Basically, it emphasizes three different portions of kind of the desk tech world. It's costume, lighting, and scenic. And basically, throughout like lectures and lab portions, you get to kind of work hands-on in those different design technology areas. And coming from someone who hasn't done a lot of desk tech before that point, it was really great to kind of learn about the different elements and kind of do things that I wasn't able to try before. It's really great for entry level people, as well as people that maybe you have tried it before but haven't learned exact like professional terms for it. It was just a really fun class.
That was a good answer. I forgot about 240 because I took that my sophomore year. Take that as soon as you can, because once you take that, you can work in the shops and you can hang out with all the grad students and you can do really cool stuff. And I sewed a purse that I've never sewed in my life. I think my favorite class my freshman year was Heritage of Storytelling, which is Theater 120, with Dr. Shelley Orr, because that woman puts on a show for every lecture. And Heritage of Storytelling is basically kind of a run through of just about every type of storytelling you can imagine, with the main goal being that you walk away from the class realizing that there's more to life than realism, and it gives you an appreciation for all of the ways you can present a message.
Yeah, I came in as a transfer student, so I really hit the ground running. And boy, let me tell you, it took me 3 years to graduate, but boy, it flew by like no one's business. And I think that's what you're going to discover, that once you're here, like the time is going to fly by so fast. So that's why you should really get yourself into the program as quickly as you can, so everyone knows who you are, while not neglecting your other classes you have to take before you really get into the program. But on the Des Tech side, there's a model making class, which was so much fun. I learned After Effects. We have a 3D printing class that you can also take. It's open to everyone. So really go through the schedule and see if you can make time. There's even some costume classes that you can take. There's like makeup and wig design. So there's all sorts of other interesting things that if you can make work in your schedule, I think will just make you a better, well-rounded artist.
Yeah, to that end, all students in the theater or TFM program can take almost any class. There are certain ones that are restricted to TFM production, for example. There's a lot of restrictions there, especially on the theater side. If you have the prerequisites, you can take the class, and in your electives area especially, there's room for flexibility, which is my job, to help you figure out where can you, what required classes do you have to stick to, and where can you explore more. Just because you're, say, a performance person doesn't mean you shouldn't learn stage management or how to hang lights or design, right? Diversity is key in your skill set to succeed in the theatrical arts as a profession. It's just true. It's great if you hit the big time as a performer right away, good. But chances are you're going to have a decade or so of making it happen, right? Ask any famous person, they'll tell you the same thing. They didn't get that way overnight. So the more you learn about your art, the better you are as an artist, regardless of whether you go into those areas professionally. So I want to, unless there's something else in that vein, one thing else I would add about classes, it was one of the classes that all theater students take, that, and TFM students often as well, that seems to benefit everyone, is script analysis. It's a major prereq for the design classes, and everyone takes it. And whether you're an actor or designer or director, producer, stage manager, even, you learn how to look at scripts with an eye towards making them real on stage. And to me, that's one of the most turning points for a lot of my students, because they start to understand how the text is in relationship to the thing that you see, that the audiences see, and how to intervene in that way and make the most out of the text. So there's a couple questions here. I'm going to go back to Clara for a minute. And Clara, and my performance folks that are in here, I'm sorry that we don't have a student for you to speak to directly. I think that she wasn't able to come this morning. So I'm going to do my best to answer from that perspective. That's our largest body of our population in theater. Most of them are our performance students. So I definitely have a lot of experience interacting with them and with the performance committee and with the performance major. And I directed shows in the department as well, and I teach some of the performance classes. So hopefully I can help you understand. So as a freshman or coming in as a performance major, you take in your first semester voice and movement. So we're going to take a step back from getting into scenes and characters right away and get you in touch with your physical and vocal instrument, which is the basis of your performing life. And then you will also take a survey class in film to start to think about that side of life. And then in your second semester, your major courses are Acting 1 and the Heritage of Storytelling class that Maya was saying. Also, you get into auditions right away. You're required to audition in the general auditions of your performance major. So you get your monologue auditions both semesters, and there's all the student work you can audition for as well. So chances are, at least by your second semester, you're going to be in a show or working backstage for a show or something like that. Eliana, to answer your question, yes, there's Acting for Camera, Theater 435, that performance students take as an elective, and you can take that twice, I believe, for credit. There are always opportunities to get on stage. You just have to keep auditioning. Somebody was asking about the schedule. How does the schedule get put together? Do the students register for classes? Do you set their schedule and post it? So, and to answer your question, you register for your own classes. However, if you're a freshman coming in for the first semester, I have given our school blocks of suggested courses for each emphasis. You're free to choose other ones, but you kind of have your first semester mapped out for you if that's what you want. You can also meet with me directly and talk to me about that. And I absolutely 100% encourage all of you to come and see your major advisor, whether that's me or somebody else, every semester before you register for your classes. It'll save you from taking classes you don't need and help you make the most out of the classes that you do take. So don't try to do it by yourself. Why would you do that? I'm an expert. Come use my knowledge. I know more about the scheduling of these classes than anybody in the universe. I'm not even joking. Okay.
Yeah, just to emphasize that. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Go see Katie and Stuart if you're on the film side. They can work magic with things. Their parameters, of course, but go visit them up in their office, and maybe they have candy to bribe you. I don't know, maybe, but definitely go see them.
Thank you, Adam, for reinforcing that, because it's so true. I can't tell you how many times I've worked with a junior or a senior who never came to see me before and ended up taking a whole bunch of extra classes they didn't need, and it breaks my heart. So got thousands of hours logged into this, so take advantage of that. Somebody was asking, if you come in undeclared, can you take intro theater courses? Yes, absolutely. So Theater 120, the Heritage of Storytelling class, is also a general education class. Theater 100, the art of theater, is open to everyone. TFM 160, cinema as art also. And then we're offering in the fall, in case you want to try out acting, but you're not an acting major, Theater 115, acting for non-majors, essentially Acting 1, but our Acting 1 and voice and movement classes are restricted to majors and minors only because they're in such high demand. So we have this other class that people just want to try it out, to get their feet wet before they decide whether they want to major or minor. And I'm excited to be teaching that in the fall. Let me see, there's so many good questions coming in. How many students are in the School of Theater, Television, Film in each emphasis? I don't exactly know the breakdown among emphases, but we have almost 600 students total, approximately 200 in theater, approximately 400 in TFM. Of the theater students, I know that about 50% are performance majors. And then we have general, youth theater, design tech, and I don't know the exact numbers of those other three. And then of course we have minors as well that are factored into there. And we generally have about 45 new freshmen every year across the emphases as well. Can we schedule time to meet with you before school starts? Absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and put my email in the chat. I'm not available in the month of June for new students, but starting in July, around the time that you would be going to your orientations, I'm happy to meet with you. I'm just off contract for June. And so taking a little break, and then I'll be fresh and ready to answer all your questions starting like July 5th, generally right after the 4th of July holiday. Are there important dates we should keep marked on our calendar, such as department orientations, meet and greets, etc.? So I'll speak to that, and then I want our students to tell you about what are the dates that you keep in mind every year. I know that there are some, if you have any suggestions for how to keep on top of that. If not, it's okay. So you should have gotten information about new student orientation. Freshmen, that happens in July. Transfer students come in August. We generally have a full school start of term commencement the first Monday of the first week of classes. So that's a great opportunity. And then the individual emphases design their own programming for welcoming new students on an individual level. So you should watch out. Your SDSU email, once that's activated, is the primary source of communication. I cannot stress that enough. So even if you use another email, have your SDSU email forwarded to your primary email, or else you'll miss everything. That is active now, I believe, if you've accepted your intent to enroll. I'm not 100% clear on how that works out. Every semester, there are dates that you want to know. So you want to make sure that you're always looking at the academic calendar, which is available on the main SDSU website. It's pretty much the first thing that comes up under academics on the main SDSU website, but I'm going to drop that link in the chat. Academic calendars are where you find out when you get to register, when you can drop classes and still get a refund, and the absolute last day of each semester to add or drop a class from your schedule. After that date, you're stuck with it. So you've got to be really up to speed on when it happens. It's always about 2 weeks in. Right, so there's standard dates every semester. First day of classes, last day to drop, when final exams begin, when the semester ends, and that kind of cycles through every year. Does that answer your question, or is there more to that? We'll have updates for you about any special student meetings at the beginning of the year by the time orientation comes around. And I'll be hosting 2 probably Saturday sessions for new freshmen, and then individual one group meeting for transfer students, and then individual advising appointments for transfer students, since your all situation is a little more complicated than our new freshmen, who have a pretty standard set of classes that they take.
Katie, one important date that I'd love to ask you about, because you might know more about it than me. If I'm interested in auditioning for a show, generally, when does that happen?
Thank you for reminding me of that. That is very important. So like I said earlier, our performance students are required to do the general auditions for our straight plays every semester. Those are optional for anyone else, and you're welcome to come. Those generally happen the first week of school on campus. This year they happened further in advance by self-tape audition. So I'm not 100% sure what the new deal will be, if we'll continue the self-tape process for health guidelines or what, but that is generally the idea. That is the first week of every semester. At the end of the week, we hold general auditions, which are monologue auditions for the straight plays or any class projects or any other faculty-led experiences. The student organizations also often cast out of those auditions. And as far as there is no set deadline for volunteering or registering to work backstage, but if you are interested in working backstage and you aren't necessarily taking a practicum class to do so for credit, you can volunteer, and the best thing to do would be to get in touch as soon as possible at the beginning of the school year. And the student organizations also often have their first meetings of the year within the first 2 or 3 weeks of school, which is how you can get involved there as well. Someone is asking what shows are we doing next year if we know. Unfortunately, because our rights are not yet secured, I can't make that announcement at this time, but we should within a week or 2 have that updated on our school site. We're a little late this year because it's been so complicated knowing what shows we could do and in what format, and our theater space, our main stage space, is getting renovated next year in the auditorium of the theater. So that's been tricky, trying to figure out where we'll be performing. Do you need 2 monologues and a backup in the age range, classical? So the general auditions every semester are 2 contrasting monologues. You get 3 minutes. Contrasting can be classical, contemporary. It can just be in genre. The performance committee will generally release guidelines on what to select. And you don't need a backup because callbacks are almost always cold reads or improvisation. But as an actor, have as many as you can have in your back pockets for sure. Are there any Instagram pages we can follow for updates? Yes, SDSU _ TTF, I believe. There's on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, I believe, are all the same. Is it looking like we'll be on campus this fall? Yes, I'm not sure about the large lecture courses that are 100 people or more, which are only a handful of our classes, but we've been told that all of our regular size classes will be face-to-face on campus at normal capacity. I'm not a fortune teller, so I can't see in the future if that's a realistic goal, but that's what the university has declared to us. Which is exciting to me, and I hope that's what happens because I miss you all so much. How does the renovation affect curriculum performance-based department budget? Great question, Eliana. I don't know all those answers. I'm not in the loop on that too badly, but it doesn't, hopefully it doesn't affect things too much. Budget it doesn't affect. That's been more affected by the pandemic than anything else. And we can still use the stage space in the theater. And so that's still used for classrooms and performances. It just makes the scale of our shows a little smaller because you need to seat the audience and have the production on the same space instead of having the audience in the house. So that's about all the information I have there. It shouldn't affect curriculum at all, as far as I can tell. Are there any problems getting the necessary classes to proceed in the major? There's very rarely, there are a few classes that get crowded, like sometimes acting one, you may not get in the first time, but haven't had that problem in a while. I think we've added enough sections now that that's good. Directing is very competitive. There's only one section each semester, and it's a required class for general and design technology students. And our acting students also often take it as an elective. And the teacher of directing is one of our most popular and amazing, Jessica Prudencia. So everybody wants to take a class with her. But otherwise, no, there's generally not a problem. How do shows work? Can anyone work on them as well? Yes. Any student at SDSU can audition, can work behind the scenes, and can be in the scene shop. If you have in the scene shop, you need to have taken Theater 240 Design and Technology 1 so that you can safely use the tools and hang the lights and do all the things. But if you want to just run props or something backstage, I believe you can volunteer without having taken the class. I'm not sure, but that class is open to non-majors. Thank you for the social media stuff in the chat. Do you have a playwriting course? Yes, we do. Theater 525, playwriting offered in the spring semester of each year. And I believe you only need script analysis as the prerequisite. Generally looking to take that probably your sophomore, junior year. And there's also screenwriting classes in the film and production or TFM side of life. And we also have a dramaturgy class if you're interested in playwriting and the construction of narratives and plays. You might also take that. But those two classes combine and collaboratively explore playwriting. And that class usually results in a showcase of plays at the Moxie Theater, which is a local women-centered theater in San Diego, which we have a great relationship with. These are all awesome questions. Okay. These are, do you know about the Creative Minds Academy summer program? Oh, okay, that's what CMA was. Sergio, or anyone else interested in that, I got word about there was going to be a program for high school students to take in July to get some college credit in film and theater production, but I just received word last week that they're postponing the launch of that until 2022. So that's no longer happening this summer, which is sad because I was gonna teach for that. Now I'm not. Sorry about that, Sergio, but hopefully come back when we launch it again next year. EK is asking how late do rehearsals go when you are in a show? What is it? Generally 10 o'clock, but no later than 11, right? That's the cutoff time?
I think so. I think undergrads aren't allowed to be there past, I think, like 10 or 11. And then you're never going to go to 11 unless it's tech.
Yeah, and they're very strict about that. No all-nighters in the theater. That's just not how we do things. It's not safe. It's not healthy. I don't know if the student orgs do that, but main
We
stage doesn't.
don't. We
Good.
also follow those same legal guidelines. I love an all-nighter in a theater. I don't do them because of the school. I respect it.
Well, when I was in college, we didn't have anybody watching, and we definitely pushed ourselves way too hard. So I'm glad that that's not true. Have there been, or do you usually do productions over the summer? Unfortunately, no. But for this summer, for the first time, and as new students, you'd be eligible, and I'm so glad you asked that, Diana, because I would have forgotten to mention it. I'm teaching an intensive in devised and ensemble theater in July, from July 5th through the 29th, Monday through Thursday, for several hours. We will learn about how to create new plays from scratch with nothing but our imagination and some well-crafted exercises. So if you're at all interested in new plays and learning how to tell your own story, this is a fee-based workshop that any student can enroll in, having informational meetings this Monday and Friday. The fee is $500, but there's going to be early enrollment discounts. So if you think you'd be at all interested in that, please let me know. I'll put my email in the chat again. And I'd be happy to send you all the information that you need. It's not for credit. It is a fee-based workshop for professional development, but it could be a great way to meet new students and learn a new skill. I think personally that the key to the future in theater, to close our representational gaps, to tell stories about more diverse populations, and to just expand our narrative legacy, is for you all, young people, to be learning how to tell stories in collaborative style together. We don't need any more dead people telling, we have, okay, dramatic history has its place, but I think there's so much that you all have to offer. And devised theater and ensemble theater companies as an operating structure are how it's going to happen. So if you're at all interested in that, that's happening for the first time this July. Obviously, I'm very passionate about this subject. So I just need you all to please contact me if you'd like that info, because I don't have your information. So please feel free to send me a quick email that says, send me the info. Thank you, Diana. Anyone, please feel free. Are there opportunities for those interested in costume design as well? Lalina, do you mean in general or in this summer workshop? In general. Okay, yeah, absolutely. You learn the basics of costuming in the Design Technology 1 class, and then in the student productions and main stage shows, costuming is probably our biggest area of output.
Yeah, and then Denitsa Bliznikova is the head of the Costuming and Design Technology area. Terry Tavares is the head of the costume shop. She's fabulous. She's hilarious. And then Peter Herman is the wig and makeup artist, and he works all over town, the Globe, San Diego Opera. So the talent down in the basement in the costume shop is amazing.
You also, if you want to work with costumes, but maybe you don't want to design, or maybe all the spots are filled up, you can also work in the shop. Specifically, I don't know how many people the costume design shop needs regularly, but I know at least the other areas of shops are always looking for people to help out. And so if you say, hey, I have these skills, please help me practice, they're usually really willing to work you in. And if you're eligible for federal work study, because I know when I was at this point, I wasn't thinking about financial aid, and you should be. There's federal work study opportunities in the shops as well.
This has been wonderful. There's so much information that we have that we could share. I know we're at the end of our time. If we can stay maybe 5 more minutes, if my panelists are willing to do that, if anyone has any questions we haven't yet addressed, if you need to move on to your next session, I absolutely understand that. One more time, putting my email in the chat. You can find it on our website as well. And I don't know if my panelists here are willing to share their SDSU email if you want to ask them, sometimes there are questions you want to ask students, you don't want to ask others. And otherwise, if you got to go, thank you so much for coming. If you want to stay for just a couple more minutes, we can certainly do that. Thanks for coming. Can you elaborate just real quick on how to ask to work in the shop? Adam, can you help me out with that? Or I don't know if the other folks know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know other students like Jacob, who was a ASM on Monsters, wanted to help out on the show because he was so bored in his apartment. So Brian McVicker, who's the TD, got them in, and it might have been for credit. I don't think it was paid necessarily, but I think if you just approach when you get on campus, go into the scene shop, introduce yourself to Brian McVicker, and just say, hey, I would love to help out. And then I'm sure they can arrange credit somehow or another.
If you're looking to do it for financial help, there's a process to when you file your FAFSA, that's how you get accepted for federal work study. Definitely research that, and then you can email the people that are in charge of the specific shops and say like, hey, I'm eligible for federal work study. You do usually have to take Theater 240 before you can work in the shop. But I think that's a fall class, and I don't think it itself has prereqs. And then so once you do that, you can say, spring semester, hey Brian or Professor McVicker, I am eligible for federal work study and I would love to do this.
There is a prereq for 240. It's 120, but you can take them concurrently, which is what I'm certainly something we can talk about. I'm not sure if that's what I suggested in the block scheduling or not. But generally it's not policed that strictly. It's just saying. There's also work study in the costume shop. Terry Tavares would be the person to ask about that. Put her name in the chat. That does not need the 240 prerequisite. Also, our box office, I believe, has work study positions now. Yeah. EK was asking, do the actor performance students get any career or job help? So this is a two-part answer. Yes, our best class for that is Theater 434, Audition and Business Skills, which our students generally take in the fall of their senior year, which is where they prepare their reels, headshots, resumes, 5-year plan, and learn about the business side of acting. But also, theater happens through mentorship. So the key to that is students being proactive and visiting their acting professors in their office hours, letting them know what their goals are, getting feedback on things like monologues, taking the program seriously, and really showing that your drive is to be a professional actor. There is nothing harder in this world as far as like needing, daily discipline and a real drive to make that happen. And if you demonstrate that to the faculty, they're going to mentor you and make sure that if there are opportunities to be had, that you at least are made aware of them, and that by the time you're ready to graduate, you understand how to get an agent, what the audition process is like for theater, for film, for summer stock, for youth theater, and all the diverse ways in which actors can make a living in the world, including being teaching artists, which is something that I encourage our performance students to take our youth theater classes and creative dramatic classes, so that you can diversify, use your knowledge of theater and performance to also be able to be a teaching artist, which many actors do to supplement their careers. I hope that answers that question, EK, but if you need more info, I can try to elaborate. And of course, an internship would be key to that too. So we'd want to talk about that when you got to that area. All right, well, I don't want to impose on my...
Can I ask one quick question? I'm so sorry. I put myself off mute because if I type it, you're going to hang up. Which is the honors program. I think there's a requirement to go abroad. And I don't know how that dovetails with being in the theater program. And I don't know if you know or who we talk to about that. But if you have any information, that would be amazing. Or if it's possible to work at like Stratford-upon-Avon in your abroad program, or what the story is.
Well, I have seen it definitely happen before, that our performance students who are required to travel abroad, who are also honors students, the one experience counts for both requirements. I don't know the exact parameters of the requirement in the honors program, but I've seen that happen. I did have a student have a very successful experience doing an internship program with the Globe Theatre in London, and was able to satisfy both those things that way. So there's a lot of variety of ways to satisfy those things, and depending on what your student wants to get or yourself wants to get out of that experience is going to determine which program that you choose. So that's definitely an individual thing that you want to get some immediate personal counseling on from myself and from the abroad office. I'm not sure, Diana, if you were here when I posted the link to our center for that. So I'll go ahead and put that in the chat one more time. These are all wonderful questions. I appreciate them so much.
Oh, I super appreciate all of your information. This has been incredibly helpful.
Excellent. I think I'm going to let my students go because I've imposed on them long enough on this weekend. And I just want to thank you all three for being here and for sharing your knowledge with us, which has been invaluable. And I can stay for another few minutes if anybody else wants to ask me any questions. So I'll stop recording and